Mr. Hauser?
Here.
Ms. Baker? Ms. Baker is absent at the moment. Ms. Simon? We have a quorum. I'd also like the record to reflect Councilmember Miller is also in attendance.
Thank you. Is there any public comment related to the agenda? And Ms. Baker just walked in, so if we can please recognize her in attendance.
Okay, yes, we do have someone signed in for public comment, Mr. Wondolowski.
Okay. Button, Mr. Wondolowski.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for hearing me today. I wanted to come here in support of the Church and State project. It was my understanding that there was some confusion about some of the funding there, but I'm proud to stand here and say that the building trades unions have a significant investment in that project, $43 million in a first mortgage there. And you know, we have a capital strategies program now that is robust, and we are funding projects all across the country. And it's really a great way to make our money work for us. And we get great returns on our investment, and we get the jobs to build the projects. We believe that this project will be a catalyst for economic development in that area. It's going to blend well with the 25th other 25th Street project that's going on right now with Snavely Construction. So we are in support of the project, and I'm happy to take any phone calls later if anybody has any questions, but we are in full support of the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wondolowski. Is there anyone else signed up for public comment?
Yes, Mr. Trimble?
Mr. Trumbull, please.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for giving me the time to speak today. My name is Ben Trimble. I'm Senior Director of Real Estate and Planning for Ohio City Incorporated. We are the community development corporation that serves the Ohio City neighborhood. We are a very lucky neighborhood in that we have an extremely engaged and enthusiastic population of folks who are always extremely involved in our neighborhood. As such, our organization, as well as Councilman McCormick's office, who's our City of Cleveland councilman, asked the developer to engage extremely early and often with the community throughout this process. We undertook about a year's worth of public process surrounding this project. In the end, it was voted on unanimously in favor by the Lakeview Block Club, which is the Cuyahoga Metropolitan Housing Authority's block club that's directly to the north of this project. It was also voted in favor of by the Franklin Clinton Block Club, 42 to 30. This project has been reviewed by the Ohio City Design Review Commission, which is a local landmarks commission. It is an advisory body to the Cleveland Landmarks Committee. It was also voted in favor of by the Cleveland Landmarks Committee, by the City Planning Commission, and in fact, the Cleveland City Planning Commission did pursue a rezoning of the entire property called a planned unit development. That means this project is actually entitled and approved to break ground as we speak. So I did want to give the committee a little bit of background on the kind of lengthy process. There have been dozens of meetings with both affected landowners as well as neighbors, and our neighborhood did vote in favor of it.
Thank you, Mr. Trumbull.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Mr. Sherlock?
Mr. Sherlock?
Good afternoon. Paul Sherlock, 3406 Clinton Avenue. I am concentrating on three main points here. I've heard the term catalyst being used for this project, and I presume that's a reason why the county is considering lending money. And what I'd really like to understand is what are they defining as this being a catalyst? And I'm really curious to hear an answer about that. What I see is a residential development and retail space. And at that retail space that is not even yet committed, retail space that they've had engaged conversations with the respective parties, but no firm contracts in hand. So in my worldview, that's still speculation. The second thing is, I'd really like to understand both from the people that put this loan product together, as well as the council committee here, how it is a good business idea to have a junior loan subordinate to a 40-year loan be at a lower interest rate than the primary loan. The primary loan I saw in the numbers last week are at 4.5%, and we're prepared to lend taxpayers money at 3% when we're taking on more risk than the prime lender. And then the third is to come back to a point that I brought up last week, and that is, I'm the board president for the Metanoia project, and I feel that what we're doing as working with shelter-resistant homeless is more of a catalyzing effect on the community than a residential real estate project. We are working to get people that have been on the streets for a very long time into housing. We are working very diligently to get them employment. We're constantly working on new programs to help assist these folks get back on their feet. Yet when we come to county, we are told we have no money. We got $25,000 as money to help fund us, and there's not a dime more. And so, it really bothers me that suddenly we can find $2 million for this project, but we can't help people that are really in need. And one last point, I wasn't in favor of this project at the block club level because I feel there's a lot of overdevelopment already occurring. And as I said last week, not all residential projects will succeed. I've lived through that, okay? But, the majority ruled, and they got the permission to go ahead, and I'm fine with that, just not with my tax dollars and everybody else's tax dollars.
Thank you, Mr. Sherlock. Is there anyone else signed in?
Yes, Ms. Caruso?
My name is Ann Caruso. I live in Cleveland Heights, Ohio, and I live on the other side of town, but I do have friends in Ohio City. And as a observant citizen, seeing the county spend $2 million or loan $2 million to a commercial entity that cannot get the money from a bank makes me question whether my tax dollars are being used in the way that the public considers tax money to be used. Usually it's used for the public good and for projects that we all need to pull together to accomplish something for the general welfare. This project doesn't seem to be that kind of a project that public money should be spent on. So just as an observant person, I think a lot of people, if they learn about this, have the same kind of thought. Here's public money going to, an entity that doesn't really need it. If they need a loan, they should go to a bank. They're not needy, they're not helping, parts of society that need help to succeed. I think our public money can be better spent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Caruso. Is there anyone else?
No one else has signed in.
Thank you. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from the March 19th meeting? Is there a motion to approve the minutes? It's been moved. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion regarding the minutes for any additions or deletions? Hearing none, all in favor of the minutes as presented, say aye. 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 Any opposed? The minutes have been approved. Let's go. We have one matter before the committee. If it can be read into the record, please.
Resolution number 2018-0048, authorizing an economic development fund place-based mixed-use loan in the amount not to exceed $2 million to Project 29 Partners, LLC, for the benefit of the Church and State Mixed-Use Project located at 2850 Detroit Avenue in the city of Cleveland.
And I see there's a substitute resolution that's also before us. Is this what I assume the executive would like us to then move with as far as a substitute?
Mr. Chairman, yes, my name is Greg Huth. I'm with the Development Department, and
We'll put the substitute on the record. The chair will move to substitute the legislation that was read with the substitute has been presented. Is there a second for the substitute? Second. It's been moved and seconded. Okay. Let's have a presentation as to the second as far as the substitute. Are you in favor of us substituting this on out?
I'm sorry?
Are you in favor of us substituting this on out? I'll call for the vote to substitute this, not to go forward, but for purposes of discussion. All in favor of replacing the original with the substitute, say aye. Aye. Okay. Any opposed? All right. We now have the substitute before us. Please go forward.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, again, Greg Huth of the Development Department. We wanted to let the committee know that, we heard you when we were here 2 weeks ago. This is a really exciting project for us. We think it's going to have a huge impact on this neighborhood. But we heard your concerns. We sat down with the developer over the past week and his underwriters and kind of hammered on both the term and the interest rate. And we got it down to a 15-year term, but with a 2% interest rate. It's something that we all were able to get comfortable with as far as cash flowing the loan throughout that life of the project, or that 15-year term. And we can make it work with this kind of a structure. So it's shorter than that 25 we started with. Of course, it's lower interest rates and it's shorter term, so the county isn't going to bring in that much more money to put into its coffers to recycle. But as you suggested, we're getting the money back a little bit faster than we would have with the original term. So
40% faster. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Questions in regards to this? And could you also comment about, we heard from Mr. Walanowski. He's obviously not here talking in terms of in front of us. He spoke in terms of in the public comment section. Can you have any reference to what he was saying in regards to his comments that the money is actually coming from the Health and Welfare Fund of the union, and that at least I can then assume that HUD is actually the guarantor and the backstop, as opposed to the money coming from HUD. It's actually coming from the union's pension and welfare fund. Is that? That's
correct. I mean, the way this program works is HUD, FHA will guarantee this, but then they're going to issue debt, and the debt is going to be purchased by the building trades. Okay. So it's as if, if we were issuing debt, we don't necessarily know who's buying. I don't necessarily know who's buying the bonds, but in this case, we know that the building trades will be buying these bonds. So. Okay, very good. Questions from anyone on the committee? Yes, Ms. Baker.
Also, for clarity, we've been getting some pushback here on this development. In the last committee, we made pretty clear that the abatement was only for the retail and parking. And yet, the correspondence I've been receiving from others is that the abatement is also on the apartments. Can you clarify that for the record?
I can clarify the city's tax abatement, the 15-year tax abatement is on
Yes.
residential. The city of Cleveland has an automatic abatement on all new housing, whether it's single-family, multifamily. So that's only on the residential portion for 15 years.
Okay, does not include the retail or the parking.
Correct.
And that is for any development in Cleveland, there's an abatement of the residential.
Yes, residential abatement is throughout the city of Cleveland.
Good.
Other questions?
And just for the record, it's the non-school portion.
Non-school portion, thank you.
So the school portion will be taxed, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay, that's on the residential also?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the school portion historically makes up 2/3 of the tax. Is that a correct statement then? Generally, on the average?
Sure.
Yeah, so 2/3 of it's going to be picked up by the school anyway, so you're only abating the city's portion that would go to them.
And the county's portion.
And the county's portion too, right. But the other 2/3, which will go to supporting the schools and the school systems will be still taxed. Okay? Yes, Ms. Baker?
So the retail part of this mixed use, if the retail was not to come, what is the fallout of that?
You have to answer that.
Are you asking if we're not able to rent out the retail?
Yes, by the county, I believe by the last committee meeting, there was some clawback or penalty.
Oh,
if-
for the jobs. Okay, the job creation question, I'll let you speak to the specifics, but we've committed to 40 job creation with the retail.
So the question is, if that does not happen, what is the fallout of that?
So we've just started doing a more robust job reporting for all the loans we do, so not just this particular loan. If the job requirement is not met, then there will be a penalty, which is in our loan contracts that go out to every loan.
Okay.
I just, one other point of clarity is, the HUD loan that is financed through Ginnie Mae bonds that get issued, and that the building trades pension funds committed to buying. We've got recourse and guarantees on this county loan. So, personal guarantees on this loan that is being discussed right now.
Sure.
So tell
Let's
me
get
a
them
little
all on
more,
the table. Let's get all the questions out there.
tell me a little more about the personal loan guarantee. Is that extended throughout, is that the entire 56.9 million?
No, just this loan
Just
that we're, yeah. the
this
two-
2 million today?
Right, so, when there's questions about risk, this is, me and my wife, then every other, developer on the team are personally guaranteeing this county loan.
Okay.
And to clarify, the HUD loan is non-recourse. So even though we're in a junior position on the real estate, we have full recourse against the personal developers.
Those are good clarifications that I think through some discussion gets lost. So I just wanted to get that on the record, just exactly the risk involved. And it sounds very minimal, if any, because of the personal guarantee, at least to the county.
So putting clarity on that, we are in a first position on the personal guarantees. So is that clearly what it's being put on the record right here?
Yes.
So in the event of any default, in the event of failure to bring the businesses into that retail space, you are standing here before us, all three of you, that we have personal guarantees to enforce those provisions.
Correct.
And we're in the first position.
Correct.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Simon?
Could you reiterate again the community benefit to the project, from the project, and why the CDCs would have voted in favor of this project?
Well, I'll let the developer get into that a little bit more, but we did provide you with a copy of the CBA that they have with the city that talks extensively about working with the schools and getting students into the project as interns, whether it's on the engineering side or the design side. So I think that's a big piece of this. And I'll let,
Well, to just go to the essence of the project, a gravel lot that's been vacant for decades is getting converted into 20,000 square feet of retail that will generate 40 jobs. We're targeting utilitarian uses for that retail, like pharmacy, veterinarian, dentist. But to answer your question, the 158 apartments that are going to be on the residential component of this will support the retail that is currently underway in the neighborhood. So when you look at the urban density, it's important to continue to have that urban density as you look at, along Detroit, along West 29th Street. And then you can see, other deal points that are located, we've got both with the Max Hayes. This is a LEED Silver project. Again, that's not a requirement, it's something that we're over-delivering to get to the silver status, which is something we're very proud of and excited about. And then, in terms of vocational opportunities, we've had multiple meetings with the leaders at the Centers for Family and Children in El Barrio to look at how do we do a higher local program. And we've sat at roundtables and contributed in terms of not only for the retail, but then for the 400 union jobs that will be part of this project. So yes, there's a number of different elements to this project that focuses on the community benefit. And we're really proud of this project.
Other questions? So just from my own standpoint, the vacant lot was paying practically, I assume, very little in the way of school taxes on the amount, even though none of it was abated as far as the city and county prior to that. It was also not paying much in the way of its 2/3 to the
Correct.
schools. So now the 158 apartments will all be contributing school taxes on the 2/3 school tax side.
In addition to the retail.
Right, yeah, that was gonna be my next one. But the retail doesn't, the retail space is gonna pay the taxes based on the build out, not based on whether or not you rent any. You could have it sitting completely empty and you're still gonna pay the retail taxes on that space for the entire floor. So that, it behooves you,
Yeah, not the
it behooves you
assessor,
to get
yeah.
that filled as quick as possible. Because those are gonna be, that tax dollar is gonna be on your dime, whether you have somebody in those buildings or not.
Yes.
Thank you. Other questions? Hearing none. This did get a first reading before it got referred to committee. It did get a second reading when it got referred back to committee. I've been advised by clerk, so we do not need to do anything special in regards to it other than referring this back for purposes of that. If this gets approved tomorrow night, that would be a third reading, so there's nothing special that needs to be done in regards to. Is there any other questions in regards to procedural steps? Okay, is there a motion to refer this back to the full council for approval for tomorrow evening's?
To do that, to refer that back to full committee, full council.
Is there a second? Second by Ms. Simon. Any discussion at this point in time?
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, just real briefly, I'd like to thank my colleagues on the committee for going back and doing its due diligence, because I know there was some concern about the length of time, number of years, and it's the taxpayers' dollars that we're dealing with here, so I think it was very prudent of us to go back and do that. So I want to thank my colleagues for taking the time to do what I think was right in the long run. So thank you.
Any other comments? Yes.
I said comment as well. I think every council member voiced different concerns with this loan. I will say I appreciate you guys working with us as far as the time for the loan. I'm glad we were able to lower it from 25 years to 15 years. Whenever any project comes before this committee, we always look to see what benefits the community. I'm excited to see the internship program with CMSD, as well as the hiring for low-income residents of Cleveland. And so this loan, I think, is low risk. It is a loan. We will be paid back. And so I have became comfortable with this loan. And so I'm looking forward to see the progression of this project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? The chair would like just also appreciate that you listened to us at the last meeting. It's part of, we don't have, as Mr. Sherlock pointed out, we don't have infinite amounts of funds, so it behooves us to get them out there working, get them back in, so the next folks can go out there. I do congratulate you for at least listening to what we had to say. As Mr. Hauserman talked about the community benefits aspects of this, the fact that the schools will be picking up the 2/3 that they were getting, almost practically nothing from a vacant lot for all those tens of years, will benefit our kids in the school system. And with that, I too am pleased to see it go from a vacant lot to making a contribution to our communities and schools. Ms. Simon, do you have another comment? Yes.
Just to explain to Ms. Crusoe and in particular, the money that we have set aside is part of our economic development plan funding. So it's separate money that's earmarked for development projects and is consistent with the plan that was developed over the past, since 2011. We've developed an economic development plan, and this fits in that plan for community development. And these particular funds are set aside for this, so it's not money that we can use for other projects. And it's a loan, and we know, feel comfortable that this will be paid back and generate some income on top of what's paid back, so we can have a revolving loan fund to continue to spur development and growth. And that's part of what the charter asked us to do, was to support economic development, and this is a way we're doing that. So, you know,
that's a
I'm
great point.
comfortable with the project.
And that's a great point, Ms. Simon, because in the charter, it speaks of, in the preamble, 3 of the 6 first items are all economic development. When we put together the 5-year plan, and it was adopted by this committee and the Economic Development Commission, place-based loans, it was an element that had some concerns in it because of exactly the kind of comments that we were hearing today. So it behooves us to always review that, come back every year, but this was added as a vehicle. If we don't like it, or if the community doesn't like it, the time to change it is back to the core 5-year business plan that was adopted. And so it will be a matter that it does fall within those guidelines. And so with that, hearing no other discussion, all in favor of this going before the full council tomorrow night, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the matter is moved now for full council. This is not an adoption. This is only moving it from our calendar, Mr. Developer, from our calendar to the full council tomorrow evening. So hearing nothing else, is there any miscellaneous business to come before the committee? Is there anyone signed in for any public comment unrelated to the agenda?
Yes, Ms. Lou?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm very happy this is the first time I attend this particular committee meetings, and I was very excited when I heard Ms. Baker and Ms. Simon having the good questions and a very good explanations for people to understand this. I'm here just to remind county council members in this committee. Back towards the end of last year, we had a budget hearings. If you still remember, lots of departments, they really needed lots of fundings to actually got their basic service up to date. For example, Public Defenders Commission, of course, all the homeless services, if we had any. The other thing is, I heard these gentlemen mention the loans from HUD. However, throughout a very hard experience with homeless issues, we already learned HUD actually mismanaged the money, and plus they got a budget cut. So some of the developmental projects, if they say they will get loans from HUD, I think all of you should think twice to study a little bit more and see if that money will actually come down instead of something happen like to permanent supported housing projects, the money was not exactly right. The other thing also, I did mention in another, also the public hearing, at that time the focus was on demolition funds. I did mention that here. When we have this type of project in, yes, I really appreciate you guys think about people of low income, no income. However, all the housing programs currently and even public transportation actually ensure segregation, not just only racial, especially economical segregation. So for these people who put on good project there, do we have other elements in the county to help out for them to really have their process smooth up and to get the result we actually want? For example, Detroit Avenue for this one, only number 26, frequency got decreased. And for people to go in there, if they are interested in the retail store there, but they are living in a different neighborhood, for them to catch a bus to go there to patronize a business, would that be easy? For the people, 40 jobs, for the people getting that 40 jobs to go there to work, would that be easy? Please help us. Watch out, just at doing the good job as you are doing now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No, no one else has signed in.
Hearing no one else, is there nothing before the committee? We'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.